folks, let's talk about the future. Not the sci-fi flying car robot serving you breakfast kind of future. Although, let's be honest, drones are getting pretty close to that. No, today we're talking about how these little buzzing machines are changing the game when it comes to national security, agriculture, conservation, disaster relief, and yes, even protecting your backyard barbecue from an unexpected visit by some airborne surveillance tech. Welcome to Full Spectrum Frontiers, the show where we break down the full spectrum of conflict, national security, and the massive impact all of this has on society. I'm your host, Bennett Tanton, and today we're diving deep into the world of drones, those unmanned aerial systems that are no longer just a hobby for tech nerds or a toy for your neighbor's overly enthusiastic kid. These things are revolutionizing warfare, keeping our food supply safe and managing wildlands, and believe it or not, playing a major role in keeping America secure. Now, I know what you are thinking, Bennett. This sounds like a dystopian nightmare. Am I gonna have to start wearing a tinfoil hat just to take out the trash while being watched? And look, I get it. There's a lot of justified skepticism about drones, surveillance, and who's watching whom. But here's the thing. Like any other tool, drones are only as good or as bad as the people controlling them. Question isn't should we use them, it's how do we use them responsibly and effectively. That's what we're tackling today. We're breaking it down into three key areas: drones in national security and military operations, how they're being used to hunt cartels, track terrorists, or even defend the homeland. Drones in civilian life, that's agriculture, land management, and disaster relief, and even maybe deliveries, and how they're helping farmers grow your food, preventing wildfires, and responding to emergencies faster than they ever could before. So why veterans are the perfect people to lead drone revolution? A look at Vets to Drones, a program that's proving, once again, why our military veterans are a national treasure and how they're leading the way in this industry. By the end of this episode, you're going to see why drones aren't just a futuristic sci-fi gimmick. They're a critical part of securing our future. And before we jump in, let me remind you, if you're getting value from Full Spectrum Frontiers, do me a favor, like, share, and review the podcast. It helps spread the word and keeps this mission going. And if you've got thoughts on today's episode, hit me up on social media. I want to hear what you think about drones and national security. Genius tool or just a digital big brother? All right, let's get into it. Let's start where drones got their real debut, the battlefield. Now, drones have been around for a while, but it wasn't until the 2000s that they really became game changers in the U.S. military. Picture this. It's post 9/11, the war on terror is in full swing, and the Pentagon realizes that instead of putting troops on the ground or sending manned aircraft into dangerous areas, they can deploy drones to track, identify, and even eliminate high-value targets. Enter the MQ-1 Predator. A sleek, deadly bird that could fly for hours, beaming back real-time surveillance while packing Hellfire missiles for when things needed a little extra persuasion. So, fast forward to today, and drones are not just part of a military strategy. They are the backbone of modern warfare. The Predator has been retired, but the MQ-9 Reaper, the RQ-170 Sentinel, and the MQ-1C Gray Eagle have taken its place. These things can stay in the air for hours, gather intelligence, and, when necessary, turn a bad guy's day into his last one. Cartel hunting and border security are huge missions for this. And it's not just terrorists getting the drone treatment. Right now, the U.S. is using drones in Mexico. Scratch that. And it's not just terrorists getting the drone treatment. Right now, the U.S. is using drones in Mexico. Yep. Inside Mexico to help track and capture cartel leaders. Think about that for a second. The world's most powerful criminal organizations running billion-dollar drug empires are being hunted by robots in the sky. These operations, run in coordination with Mexican authorities, have led to major busts, including the capture of some top cartel figures. Drones can monitor cartel movements, track drug shipments, and give U.S. and Mexican forces real-time intelligence without sending a human operative. The success of these missions prove one thing: drones aren't just useful in conventional warfare, they're changing the way we fight crime. And let's talk about the southern border. Whether you think we need more security, better policies, or a full-blown military presence, one thing is clear: drones are helping already. Helping Border Patrol monitor illegal crossings, track smugglers, and respond to incidents faster than ever before. Imagine if we fully integrated AI-driven surveillance drones into the border system. They could patrol vast stretches of land 24/7 and in any weather without risk. That's a force multiplication at its best. Now here's where things get tricky. The more surveillance power we hand over to machines, the more we have to ask, who's watching the watchers? Drones are now being used for domestic security, monitoring public events, watching high-risk locations, even assisting law enforcement in hostage situations. But there's always that fine line between using drones to protect citizens and using them to spy on them. We've seen cases where local governments have used drones to monitor protests, track individuals, and collect massive amounts of data on American citizens. And when the government starts dipping into warrantless surveillance territory, that's when people start feeling, well, uncomfortable. And rightly so. Let's be honest. Drones give immense power to whoever controls them, and like any tool, they can be used for good or bad. The difference between protecting national security and violating civil liberties: accountability. So the question we have to ask is, how do we ensure drones are used effectively, ethically, and legally, and what's the right balance between security and personal privacy? If we get this wrong, we could be looking at a future where everything is monitored everywhere, all the time. But if we get it right, drones could be the key to safer cities, stronger borders, and a national security apparatus that is more effective than ever before. So coming up next, we're shifting gears. It's not just the military and law enforcement using drones. Farmers, land managers, and disaster responders are relying on them too. And let me tell you, the way drones are changing how we grow food, fight wildfires, and respond to emergency is straight out of a sci-fi movie. All right. We've covered how drones are hunting cartels, tracking terrorists, and securing the border. But let's talk about something even more important: keeping you fed, keeping your land safe, and keeping people alive in disaster zones. Because while drones are revolutionizing warfare and security, they're also playing a massive role in agriculture, land management, and emergency response. And I promise you, this stuff is just as mind-blowing as anything happening on the battlefield. Farming in America is no joke. You're talking about millions and millions of acres of land, unpredictable weather, and a labor force that isn't getting any younger. Enter agricultural drones, the eyes in the sky helping farmers do what they've always done, just way more efficiently. These drones are game changers for farming. They can monitor crop health in real time using thermal and multispectral imaging, detect pests and diseases before they spread, optimize irrigation by pinpointing exactly where water is needed, spray pesticides and fertilizers with pinpoint accuracy, cutting waste and environmental damage. And let me hit you with this stat. Studies show that drones can increase crop yields by up to 20% while reducing pesticide use by 30 to 40%. That's more food, less waste, healthier food, and better sustainability, all thanks to drones. But not everyone's thrilled about the idea of flying robot patrols over farmland. Take Indiana, for example, where local farmers started shooting at drones after they saw them buzzing around their chicken farms. Turns out the drones were there to monitor for avian flu outbreaks, a real concern when you're dealing with highly contagious viruses. But when people don't know who's flying these things or why, it's easy to see why they'd get a little trigger happy. This is where transparency and public trust come in. Farmers need to know when and why drones are being used. Otherwise, you'll end up with shot-down drones and a whole lot of unnecessary paranoia. Seriously, if you think drones are just for spying and farming, think again. These things are already saving lives in disaster zones. In California, drones are used to monitor wildfires, track their movements, and even help firefighters deploy resources more efficiently. After hurricanes, drones can assess damage, find survivors, and help emergency teams navigate destroyed areas safely. In flood-prone areas, drones help predict flooding patterns and warn communities before disaster strikes. In fact, just recently, Department of Homeland Security tested drones in urban disaster response scenarios, seeing how they could help firefighters, medics, and law enforcement work faster, safer, and smarter in crisis situations. The result? Drones are a force multiplier. They don't replace first responders, but they help them see the battlefield before stepping into it. And then you've got environmental protection drones, tracking illegal logging and poaching in national parks, monitoring endangered species without disturbing their habitat, surveying coastal erosion and pollution in ways that were impossible just a few years ago. The bottom line, drones aren't just for the military and law enforcement. They're shaping the way we grow food, protect our land, and respond to disasters. So, here's the deal. The drone revolution is already here, but like any technology, it comes with questions and challenges. Biggest one is who controls them? How do we ensure they aren't being misused? What regulations need to be in place to balance safety, privacy, and efficiency? We need to get ahead of those questions now, because the drone industry is only going to keep expanding. Speaking of expansion, that brings me to the next section, the people who should be leading this drone revolution. In my opinion, our veterans. Coming up next, we'll talk about Vets to Drones, an organization providing why. Coming up next, we'll be talking about Vets to Drones, an organization proving why military vets are the perfect candidates to lead America's drone industry. So we've established that drones are changing everything, from national security to agriculture to disaster response. But here's the big question. Who's going to operate them? Who's going to lead this charge? The answer? Our veterans. If you've served in the military, chances are you've already worked with high-tech systems, surveillance equipment, and remote operations. Maybe you were an infantryman calling in airstrikes, a drone operator tracking enemy movements, or a logistics specialist coordinating UAV flights. That experience? It's gold in the civilian drone industry. This is where Vets to Drones comes in. Vets to Drones, bridging the gap between military service and civilian careers. Vets to Drones is an organization that's doing incredible, smart, helpful things for military veterans. Wait, scratch that. Vets to Drones is an organization that's doing something incredibly smart, helping veterans transition into civilian careers in the drone industry. Why? Because veterans have exactly the kind of skills, discipline, and adaptability that make them perfect for this field. Not every single veteran, mind you, but a lot. Think about it. Situational awareness. This is where Vets to Drones comes in. Vets to Drones. Why? Because veterans have exactly the kind of skills, discipline, and adaptability that make them perfect for this field. Not every veteran, but a lot of them. Think about it. Situational awareness, check. Experience with high-tech systems, check. Ability to operate under pressure, big check. Understanding of security, surveillance, and mission planning, huge check. And let's be honest, transitioning from the military isn't always easy. One of the biggest struggles veterans face is finding a career path that matches their skill set while giving them a sense of purpose. The drone industry solves both these problems. It offers meaningful work, whether it's protecting national security, managing emergency response, or revolutionizing agriculture. It provides good-paying jobs in a high-growth industry, and, most importantly, it lets veterans continue serving in a new way. The demand for drone operators is exploding. Here's the thing. Most people don't realize. The civilian drone industry is booming. We're talking about law enforcement agencies looking for skilled drone pilots, tech startups racing to develop new generation UAV systems, agriculture companies hiring drone specialists for precision farming. Disaster response teams needing experts to operate drones in crisis situations. And let's not forget military contracts. As more defense contractors move toward AI-driven unmanned aerial vehicle systems, the demands for drone-savvy veterans is only going to increase. In short, if you're a veteran with the right training, there's a career waiting for you in the drone industry. How we get more veterans into this field? So, how do we get more veterans involved? Awareness. A lot of veterans don't even realize this opportunity exists. Organizations like Vets to Drones need more visibility. Training and certification. Getting a Part 107 commercial drones license is key. Programs like Vets to Drones are helping veterans get certified and training quickly. Funding and support. More grants and incentives for veterans entering the drone industry could fast-track the transition. Networking and mentorship. Veterans thrive in tight-knit communities. The more we connect experienced drone operators with transitioning service members, the faster we build a veteran-powered drone workforce. The mission moving forward is that drones aren't just some cool tech trend. They are the future of national security, agriculture, land management, emergency response, and more. And who better to lead that future than the men and women who have already dedicated their lives to protecting this country, and in a lot of cases are already trained. Vets to Drones is showing us that veterans aren't just part of the solution, they are the solution. Let's bring this home. Today we covered a lot. We've talked about how drones are reshaping modern warfare, helping us secure the border, tracking drug cartels, and giving our military an undeniable strategic edge. We've also seen how they're revolutionizing agriculture, land management, and emergency response, literally saving lives and protecting our food supply. And most importantly, we've talked about how veterans are the key to this entire drone revolution. Vets to Drones is proving that our nation's warriors don't stop serving just because they take off the uniform. They're stepping up, using their skills, and leading America into the future of aerial technology, whether it's for security, sustainability, or disaster relief. So here's the deal. If you're a veteran listening to this, or if you know a veteran who's looking for meaningful high-tech work in a growing industry, tell them about Vets to Drones. Help them get plugged in. This isn't just about jobs. It's about purpose. It's about continuing the mission in a whole new way. And for everyone else, pay attention. Drones aren't a fad. They're not going anywhere. And only question is who's going to control them and how do we make sure they're used responsibly. We can either embrace this technology and lead the world in it, or we can fall behind. And let's be real, falling behind is not what America should be doing. If you got value from today's episode, do me a favor. Like, share, and review the podcast. It helps keep this mission going. Follow Vets to Drones and support their work. Stay informed on drone policies, because the more we know, the better we can shape the future. And as always, hit me up on social media with your thoughts. Are drones the greatest security tool of our time, or are we heading towards surveillance dystopia? I want to hear from you. This has been Full Spectrum Frontiers. I'm Bennett Tanton, and I'll see you next time. Until then, stay sharp, stay informed, and keep your eyes on the sky.